Hey, Christoph here. We'd love to get your feedback on something. So as you may know, the Bitcoin Core team, there's a group of people working on a new user interface, a new application. And the first version of this application, all it does is run a node. Second version will include a wallet. First version is just a node. And we wanted to come up with a visualization of the status so it doesn't just look like a progress bar, basically. So there is a whole onboarding flow somewhere in this document, but I pulled out the most important bits here relevant to this particular question, which I'll get to. So during onboarding, it tells you what a node does, how it's important, and then it introduces an element called the block clock. So when you actually run your node, you're going to see something like this here. So it shows you the latest block time. There's a status display here that shows you how good your connection is, those little dots at the bottom. And then there's this circular display visual here, like a clock. And there are two variations of it, and love to hear which one you think is better. So in this visual here, you see all these little segments here. And so the whole circle represents 12 hours, just like a clock, regular clock. And each segment represents one single block that has come in. So here I see, a block came in at midnight or at noon, whatever it may be. And, this one took a little bit longer. This one took a little bit shorter, another shorter one, then a longer one. And I can, there's not a ton of information here, but it shows me a little bit of this rhythm of how the blocks appear. And blocks with the latest blocks always has this red color, because it only has one confirmation, and as it kind of settles, as it becomes more and more confirmed, it turns into yellow, and yellow is kind of the color for the blocks that I can trust in a probabilistic sense. Then the alternate version of this is that we do not show the history of the last 12 hours, but that this dial really indicates just the time that has passed since the last block. So let's say, a new block came in, then there will be just a little yellow circle at the top. And as more time passes, with every second passes, this colored indicator here grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And the whole circle would represent 20 minutes. So 10 minutes is kind of the targeted block time, but as you know, sometimes it'll be 3 minutes and it'll be 13 minutes or so, because it's just all averages that we're looking for here. So 20 minutes seemed like a good fit here. So ideally, on average, the dial should always go up down to the half, which is 10 minutes, but it could also be, it will typically be shorter or longer. And then once the new block comes in, this one will change to 8, and then this dial here will go back to the top and start again from 0. So the question is now, which one of these two displays is more useful and that you would like to see? This one's a little bit more difficult to implement because you need to track the time of all these different blocks. And this one's a little bit easier, but which one would you find more useful? And we also have a prototype here of the first version, just to give you a sense of how this block clock works in general. So there are different, there's all kinds of stuff baked in. There's different statuses. For example, when it's just connecting, it looks like this. You see these connection dots that are lighting up one by one. Then when it's syncing, that means it's the initial block download. It will, it will start at 0, and then it start filling up. And the time in here that says 12 minutes, that should also then start at an hour 40, and then it will start trickling down along with this sync progress here increasing. Because that's what you're looking at. You just want this to be done. This is the current state here. So the block height is rendered here. And then this is the version with the segments here. But that could also be a different one. Then there are other states here, like it was paused. There's no Wi-Fi, so it was paused automatically because there's no Wi-Fi. Maybe if you're on battery, you don't want to use your CPU during the initial block download, it automatically pauses. There's an error with your system clock, or there's something else is wrong. So there are all kinds of different states baked into this clock, so it will serve multiple purposes. You could also have a situation where, maybe you can click this text and it changes around a little bit. So now you kind of have a sense for this whole interactive element. But the question is now, which one of these visuals here should we go for? Show up to 12 hours, half a day worth of locks, or just show time since the latest one? I'd love to hear what you think.